today we're discussing about the preseason mainly and other things like the Neymar saga, Zidane, his relationship with the players and all. Today I am with PGS Madridista known as Prabuda and Reyes de Bernabeu known as GC. Hello guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Let's start about the preseason. What do you think about the preseason? How it went? The bad form we had in preseason. What was the problem with the team?
Well, I can start then. I think
Okay.
I think mainly our problem is well, I don't like blaming one person for a big problem, but I think Zidane is a big problem, and I've that's been my thought process ever since he left, basically.
Yeah. We started the preseason with Bayern. Okay, you can talk about that. It was our first game in 2 months, and Bayern had three preseason games. But the game after that, the Athletic game and the game with Arsenal and all, it was a bad preseason to to put it together.
Yeah, I think I tweeted this last night as well. I think the first one or two games you can kind of see some patterns, but I think you don't have to judge the team based on those two games. But in the fifth or sixth game, I think you kind of have to start taking things a bit more seriously.
Yeah, especially the Athletic game. It ended 7-3, like preseason or not preseason, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's preseason or not. We shouldn't be conceding 7 goals to Atletico Madrid, and especially 4 goals to Diego Costa.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, right. But what do you think? It's wrong. It's not only Zidane, in my opinion. It's the whole team, the confidence of the team. Like it is the player of or what Zidane uses, the tactics or what is going wrong. It's Real Madrid after all. You don't have to have these problems in the team, and here they are. You can even explain most of the problems we're going in through right now.
Yeah, I think the problem is both the mentality of the players right now, and as I said earlier, I think Zidane obviously has his strength. He wouldn't be at this position if he didn't. But I think we can and we should try to do better.
I also think that the
Uh,
main issue with the club is Zidane right now. He's not making the best use of the players, in my opinion, as of now.
it's also his stubbornness with the players like James, Mariano, and Bale. Okay, Bale and Mariano has not been up to their true level, but James just came back from loan, and 2 years after, he hasn't given him a single minute right until now, and he says he's counting on him. I think Zidane is a good coach, but not a coach of Real Madrid caliber. Maybe okay, he's Real Madrid caliber, but there are much better coaches in the market. In the market, we should have waited for Pochettino for 3 more months, and we rushed with Zidane, in my opinion. What do you guys think about this?
Yeah, well, I agree. I think if you take over in March, you have to start changing something right away, and you
Yeah,
just and people use the argument that the season was already over in March. But if that was the case, then I don't think we should have hired Zidane back that
yeah,
early.
okay. Solari was fairly sacked, but we could have stood 2 more months with him when the season was already over.
Yeah, exactly. I don't
Uh,
I don't I don't see the point in rehiring Zidane.
Zidane had like 5 months preseason. Even those 12 games were preseason for him. He just
Yeah,
had he just had a lot to change, and he could have changed a lot. And the last game of preseason and he still hasn't an idea of what he's going to use next season. He's gone with a 3-5-2, which been our our setup in the last two games, but what do you think about the 3-5-2? Does it work or it doesn't work? Prabudha, what do you think about this?
I think the 3-5-2 is a good idea because of our fullbacks and it'll give a bit of variance to the team. But the main problem is Zidane came up with the idea way too late, and by the time he started implementing the 3-5-2, he'd already loaned out Vallejo and he hadn't gone for Hermoso, who joined Atletico Madrid. So right now we have four centre backs in the squad, and if we play a 3-5-2, and if one of them gets injured, we're gonna be in a lot of trouble. So I don't think the 3-5-2 is the best way moving forward for the coming season, unless we make some centre back signings in the last few weeks of the window.
So what's your preferred setup for the next season, if not 3-5-2 or 5-3-2?
Um, for the next season, it really depends on who we bring in the last few weeks. I think that maybe we're still going for a
With the
midfielder, and
yeah,
yes,
with the players we have now, what would you use for next season?
with the players we have right now, I think a 4-2-3-1 would probably be best because we don't have a lot of midfielders and Modric is past his prime. So it would be best if we played Casemiro and Cruz in a double pivot with two wingers and an attacking midfielder, maybe Isco in the attacking midfield role.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think our current squad fits the best with a 4-2-3-1. With well, I guess it kind of depends on if James stays, because I think he fits the not really a ten role, but he fits the role with Isco. So we got two top class players there, and I think
Yeah,
as Prabhuda said, I think a 4-2-3-1 fits the best right now.
yeah, it totally depends on the Neymar saga, the Neymar move. Currently, he's close to Barcelona as per the reports, but this changed the whole summer. This gave us hope, all of us, and we're kind of sad that it isn't happening. But when the summer started, we didn't think about Neymar at all, and this just popped up, and then we now that we aren't signing him, we think that we're going trophyless. We were hopeful for the squad. Now we are hopeless in a kind of way. Does Neymar change anything if he comes in your opinion, GC?
Yeah, definitely. I think maybe a bit controversial for some people, but I think Neymar is the second best player in the world right now. And I think, well, based on current ability, I mean, him being injury prone is not a bonus, of course, but I think in general he's the second best, and I think he changes any squad for the better. And yeah,
Who would you exchange in the Neymar deal if you had the chance to play a role in this?
um, well, I would try to swap. Well, I mean, it all depends on the players who, if they want to go, but I think a rumor started with Isco and 120 millions this morning, right?
Yes. Yeah. I wanted to ask about that. What do you think about Isco going out to complete the Neymar deal? Do you like it or you don't like it? Considering we have just five midfielders at the moment, and if one the big doesn't come in, we enter the season with four midfielders, one being a 34-year-old.
I think if Isco is a part of the Neymar deal, then we'll be really short-handed in midfield. And it would probably be best if Zidane had kept Ceballos, but now he's already gone, so it would be best if Zidane keeps James if Isco is a part of the deal. Otherwise, if we get even one single injury, then our whole midfield is gonna be the same for every single game because we won't have any players to come into the midfield. And even
Yeah.
of the players we have available, one of them is Fede Valverde, and he's still what 20, I think. And you can't rely on a 20-year-old in his first real season at a top club, especially at a club like Real Madrid.
Yeah. Do you think Neymar can correlate with Hazard in the same team? Can they play in the same team?
I mean, they kind of run into the same channels on the left side, but I think great players like those two, they find a way to work together, and I
Yeah,
think
both can play behind the strikers. Even Neymar, even Hazard. Both can play behind the strikers, so that won't be a problem, I think. It's just that we need Neymar have these two in the team. We need a player of Neymar's caliber to be better. As of now, as of the preseason, things doesn't look good for Real Madrid.
Yeah, I think also the thing with Neymar is if he doesn't join us, he joins Barcelona. So
They have
it's
five superstars in the team,
yeah. I mean, it's
not including the defense and midfield. They have De Jong in midfield, Piqué,
yeah,
Semedo in defense. They
yeah,
have a
yeah.
super team. Even with Neymar, they're still the favorites for La Liga if we sign him.
Yeah, probably.
If Barca do sign Neymar, it'll probably mean one of Coutinho or Dembele is gonna go, but Neymar is better than both of them, so it's gonna make things a lot harder for us. But even like you said, they have five superstars, but I don't think all five of them will get to play. So if Neymar comes, it'll probably mean the end of Dembele on the left wing, and it'll probably be Griezmann, Neymar, and Messi as a front three, I think.
So, what do you think about Hazard in general? His pre-season, how did he perform? About Jovic, about Mendy? Okay, Mendy is injured, but about the new signings, how did they seem to you in the pre-season? Even Kubo and Rodrigo. Tell me about them a bit, Krabuta.
Um, Hazard didn't have the best preseason, but he did have some good touches and a few good spells. But I think that's more down to the entire team being pretty poor in preseason rather than Hazard himself being poor. And he did score a really good goal. And I think that if the rest of the team had performed better, and if there was like a set way of playing, and if Zidane hadn't experimented as much, Hazard would have had a better preseason. But I don't think the preseason is a sign of what Hazard will be like in the coming season because I think he's just too good of a player to really flop or be a bad signing for the coming season.
What about Kubo, who is considered by the most fans the player of the preseason, the best player of the preseason?
Yeah, even for me, Kubo was the best player of the preseason. He seems like he plays really similarly to Messi, and he, despite not having played for a top European club before and playing in the Japanese league for a long time. He really impressed in all the games he featured, and even after uh, he left the first team squad to go with Castilla, he did some pretty good things, and I think that it would be it would be good that if Kubo is loaned out to another team, and he's just too good to keep in Castilla right now, if in my
Yeah.
opinion.
So what about Jovic and Mendy? Jovic in general, he didn't score any goal. He didn't get any minutes. A lot of minutes. He got injured. Is this a bad sign or it's just a preseason? GC. That's
Well,
tell,
I think um, it's I don't think we should judge individual players on preseason. I know I said the thing about the fifth or sixth game you can kind of start to see patterns, but I think new signings especially shouldn't be judged on preseason only. I think we after the maybe fourth, fifth, even like 2 months into the season, you can kind of start seeing how he
yeah. So do
will
you
perform.
do you see us do you see Jovic as a starter or Benzema as a starter for the
But
new season?
Benzema this season, I
But
think
in
both.
your opinion, who should start?
I mean, currently probably Benzema because of the link up he has with Hazard in the preseason as well. I think they work really well together, even though they don't really complement each other that well. That I think Hazard and Jovic would, but I think they find each other very easily and is a big bonus to have in the attack.
I
Yeah.
think maybe like the diamond Zidane used to use in a diamond instead of Isco, we could have Hazard and Jovic and Benzema both starting.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah, I had that thought too in the beginning. Benzema, Jovic with Hazard behind and Modric, Kroos and Casemiro. But I don't see Modric being a starter this season. And with the 3-5-2, okay, let's go back to that. That's a problem because our right back position is not the best. Carvajal, after the heart problem, has just not been the same player, and he showed in pre-season. It was worrying, and Odriozola is just a good player for the bench, but not a good player to start week in week out for Real Madrid. So what do you think about the Carvajal form? What's your thoughts on that and on Marcelo, who was really good this preseason, but still had very big mistakes in defense. What are your thoughts on our fullbacks?
Well, I think the 3-5-2 can kind of cover. I mean, injury, no, error, sorry, error prone fullbacks, it's easier to cover for them in a 3-5-2. Well, defensively, error prone fullbacks or wingbacks. And I think if, as Prabuddha said earlier, if we're going to play the 3-5-2, we need another center back. But I think if we're going to play a 3-5-2, I think that can cover Carvajal's lack of form, I guess, right now.
Yeah, but the 3-5-2 we have Nasha as the fourth choice center back, and to be honest, he's finished as a player, and he shouldn't be at Real anymore. Maybe keeping Valère would have been a better option, or getting Hermoso. Now we see why Zidane was contacting Koulibaly. He wanted to play a 3-5-2. Now it looks impossible, but he would help us very much. Nacho is always late with the tackles, interception, everything. He's just a step behind the attackers of the opposition team. I don't know what happened to him during the last 2 years, but he's just not the same anymore. And you can't count on him to play a 3-5-2. You saw it yesterday. Roma were creating chances for fun, and you know we better stick with four defenders than five. I don't see that working at all. But anything can happen.
Uh, I think that our left back position is pretty much set because I think by the middle of the season, Mendy will have replaced Marcelo. I think
Yeah,
that he isn't as good as Marcelo is attacking wise, but Mendy's a much better defender. And even if you check his Leon stats last season, it was like Mendy was dribbled past just thrice all of last season, and that's pretty insane for a fullback. And right backs where the real problem is, and I I still think that we won't be able to play a 3-5-2 regularly. And if Carval or Odriozola don't improve their form, then I think we might see a four at the back with Eder Militao as the right back because he apparently played a lot as a right back for Porto, and he seems pretty good and he seems much better than Carval or Odriozola right now.
yeah, yeah, that's true. He was very good in the match against Salzburg and to last night against Roma, but he still needs to adapt with the new league. He played with Porto in the Portuguese league and just going to La Liga, he still needs to adapt. I believe he has a lot of potential, but I'd use him as a center back now, not as a right back. I don't think that would work. It may be possible because he played all three positions last year, but I don't think it'll work here.
Yeah, I think if we're going to use Militao as a right back, I think that's a panic. It's decision. I think it's if it's a crisis, I think we should play him there. But I don't think he. I think he should focus on the center back spot mainly. And if we really have to, I think he could play there. But yeah,
Yeah, I think after the preseason, okay, we thought the team was perfect after the four signings in less than 2 weeks, but now you can see the flaws this team has. Only one defending midfielder, Modric is 34, Valverde is still young. Maybe our best midfielder is Cross, and he's just not the same anymore. I don't see him being the same. He said he'd retire at 32, and now he's 30, and he's on his last years too. There's no positive sign so far for the next season. I just hope that changes a lot now. Maybe our players can prove us wrong and all, but I don't see. What are your expectations for next season? Honest predictions.
honest predictions. I think we should um, try to reach. I don't think we'll challenge for the title, especially with Neymar in Barcelona.
Yeah.
But I think we should really try to challenge Atletico. Atletico should try to challenge us for the second place. And I mean, in the Champions League, it's hard to say because it depends so much on draws and teams you face.
Yeah,
But
there's there's a lot of better teams than us right now,
Yeah, exactly. I think
especially English teams, Liverpool, Manchester City, maybe even Juventus is better than us. Let's
yeah,
not talk about teams like Barcelona, Bayern, Paris Saint-Germain, which, in my opinion, better than us.
yeah. I think they're especially better set up than us and better, more ready. I think in the Champions League we should be able to aim for a semi-final at least. But as I said, it depends on who we face in the quarterfinals and round of 16.
What about
Yeah.
you, Prabuta? What are your expectations for next season?
Like GC said, I think the main difference between us and other teams is that they're much better set up than us. We still haven't figured out what style we're going to play or what changes Zidane is going to bring to the team. And I think personnel-wise, we still have a pretty good team. The young players are really good, and they're only going to get better. And Hazard is a great addition, but I don't think we're at the level as what we were 2 years ago. And I don't have much expectations for the coming season unless we see some drastic changes in the first few weeks of the season. I think we might finish second or third in La Liga, and like GC said, maybe we could reach a Champions League semi-final. Other than that, I don't have much much more expectations.
Yeah,
I think we shouldn't like have too high hopes because I think this is a transition season mainly with a lot of new players, a lot of young new players, and only really one confirmed star in Hazard. I think we should focus on doing our best and then go into the next season with higher hopes, hopefully.
yeah. Everyone who knows me knows I'm optimistic, but it all depends on the Neymar case now. I think if we sign Neymar, we are triple contenders. If we don't sign Neymar, we are Copa del Rey contenders. I don't see us winning the league with the team we have, especially if Barcelona are Neymar. And I also think we should compete with Atletico for the second place because they showed in the preseason that they are better set up than us. They have more depth and I think they are a better team in general. So let's not get our hopes high as you said. The new season is gonna be painful, I think.
I think the main thing with Neymar, if we were to sign him, is he's of such a high caliber that I think he can cover Zidane's flaws or the entire team's flaws, but mainly Zidane's flaws. I think
Yeah,
that's
but I don't think we are getting only 70 points again. I think we're reaching 80 comfortably, but we are not winning the league. Barcelona have a team to reach 100 points without a problem. I don't see many teams in the Liga who can stand up to them. Teams like Sevilla or Valencia who are very good at their home. I don't see them standing up to them because they have immense depth. Like they have five world-class attackers. Let's assume they're getting Neymar. Even without Neymar, they have Dembele, Coutinho coming off the bench. So they have a very good team. Not the case with us. We have
yeah,
just five midfielders. One get injured, and we have only one midfielder on the bench. Like it's not a good start at the moment. Let's hope we see at least we sign Donny van de Beek in the remaining part of the summer transfer window.
yeah. I think we need to strengthen a bit more, but I think the thing with Neymar is like um, at least some people, and I agree with that. That Cristiano Ronaldo did. He covered up Zidane's flaws
Yes.
a lot and won him and Ramos. There's a reason why we won so many games with them two scoring crucial goals in 2016-17.
Yes.
And I think Neymar is a similar kind of a similar level of player. I think he'd score so many crucial goals that we wouldn't look at Zidane with the flaws he look at Zidane the same way we do now after this preseason if we were to sign Neymar.
He'd cover the most of our flaws, but his behavior may be a problem. Maybe. What do you think about his behavior? People talk a lot about this, his injury record, his behavior outside of the field, his big ego. People talk a lot about of this, but I don't think that's a problem. What do you guys think about this, the Neymar behavior?
I think his behavior can be tolerated because of the caliber of player he is. He is like G said, I he is probably the second best player in the world right now, based purely on ability. And for a player like that, I think the club will accept uh, all of his off-field antics. But the main concern is his injury issues. He missed the second half of both of the last two seasons. He missed the Copa America, and if like let's say we do get him for 120 million plus some players, and he sits out half the season injured, then I think it'll be a very bad investment on our part, and we won't even and based on the last two seasons, he's been injured in during the crucial part of the season. So it could be like kind of like a pointless signing if he does get injured again.
Yeah, yeah, I'll
Yeah,
agree with you on this.
I agree, but I also think it's a risk worth taking because of the level of player he is.
Okay, so this is it because it's preseason. The transfers aren't closed yet. We haven't a lot to talk about, but when this finished, we promise to make another podcast. It was good having you guys in today's podcast. See you next time.